Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this Houdini series on Vellum. On this series, I'm going to focus on doing a project from start to finish with simulation and render. I'm going to try to move pretty fast, and at the end of it, you'll basically have a motion graphics quality render like this. Um, this is the end product. So let's go ahead and head over to Houdini and get started. All right, here we are in Houdini. Okay, here we are. I've got this simulated. So I did a couple things just to make this a little bit better. So I went ahead and just so you can get the same results. I changed the remesh to 0.059. It was way too slow, way too small. It was really slow. I also changed the copy to 25 instead of 50, and then the translate is 0.046. So a little bit more space in here. And I got some decent results from this, and this is what we're going to go ahead and render. So there's that. I'm going to jump out. We'll just call this curtain, and jump back in. Let this sim again. Let's let this take a second. There we go. Now I am going to jump out to the stage and run this through a quick lighting setup. So first up, let's do a SOP create, jump in, go in an object merge, go out, find our curtain. I think, yeah, the solver was the last one on there. We've got that. So here's our SOP create. Then we're going to add an environment light. And under texture, I've just got an HDR that I'm going to use. I'm going to get something like this. So next up, I'm going to go ahead and create a material library. And then let's go ahead and remesh that. Bring that down. Say 0.032 is good. And I'm going to do a group. Set that to points. And grab these top points. Hit enter. And just call these pins. And then next, I'm going to do a copy and transfer here. Let's just do 10. And I'm going to translate this next. And just give it a little bit of space. There, like so. And then let's do next an attribute, adjust color. here. Set this to random. Let's see what I want to do. Set this to bounding box. Let's grab magma for the color. I think that's all we need to do for that. Next up, let's go ahead and run this through a simulation. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move this up, move the grid up here. Like that. I don't really want it hitting the ground. I might have some colliders in here as well. So just know, just above the ground's fine. And let's go ahead and do a vellum cloth. And we're going to do a vellum brush. And then I think that should do it. On our vellum brush, I'm just going to highlight that node and hit enter in the viewport. And this will give some warnings. I'm not sure why, but it'll take a second here to kind of catch up, and then it seems to work. So if it hangs for you, don't worry, just give it a second. I'm going to head and pause the video. And I didn't even have to pause it. There we go. Just popped up. So now I'm going to just use the wheel here on my mouse to make the brush bigger. And I'm just going to kind of move this around a bit. And this is going to be my initial state for the simulation. This tends to work pretty nice, so you don't get this kind of like weird non-organic kind of stacking that happens when you pile cloth on top of one another like this. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy drastic. And that should be just fine. And then I'm going to run this into a Vellum solver. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up a collider here. So I'm going to make a box. Then throw it down to transform. Hold down Alt, left click, make a keyframe. Nope. Go back to frame one and then hit our brain down here. So now I'm going to keyframe this up. We'll just say to about there. That should be fine. Turn the brain back on and run this into our third input at the top of our Vellum stack and hit play. And it's falling, which isn't what I want because I have those pen constraints. So I'm going to go back to my cloth, go back to frame one, and for pen points, group one, And then I'm going to try this again. And those pins are not catching, so I'm going to see what's going on here. Okay, so I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's a bug or if it's something that I'm doing. But the Vellum brush is not working with the pen constraint. So not a big deal. We'll just bypass the Vellum brush. One of the good things about Houdini, right? Um, and then I'll post an update later on if I figure out what that issue is. But for now, this is what we're getting from our sim, which is cool. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the Vellum solver here and add in a pop. Let's do an axis force. Let's go and spin this around. Get look cool. And then a pop wind. Wind. All right. That should give us some movement. Do this axis force. Just say 1, 2. Move the radius and the height way up. Go to our wind, move the amplitude up. And let's do this on X and Z. Bring the swirl size down. This up. Let's see what that gives us. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I want to get to the rendering as well. So you can art direct this um, till your heart's content. But for now, I'm just going to try to get a cool look out of this, and then I'm going to stop it and get to the rendering, which I think this is actually pretty cool right here. All right, so I'm gonna do it from this point forward. So what I'm gonna do now is since I like this look, I'm gonna go back to our grid up here, or sorry, the copy, and I'm gonna make a bunch more copies. So let's go ahead and do 50. And then we're gonna translate this way down so that we get a bunch of these kind of laying on top of one another, which is just what I want. Check the color, looks good. And cloth, that should be fine. Everything else should be fine. And we're going to simulate this. I'm going to pause this and see what we get. Okay, here we are. I've got this simulated. So I did a couple things just to make this a little bit better. So I went ahead and just so you can get the same results, I changed the remesh to 0.059. It was way too slow, way too small. It was really, really slow. I also changed the copy to 25 instead of 50, and then the translate is 0.046. So a little bit more space in here. And I got some decent results from this, and this is what we're going to go ahead and render. Oh, there's that. We're going to jump out. We'll just call this curtain. And jump back in with the sim again. This will just take a second. There we go. Now I am going to jump out to the stage and run this through a quick lighting setup. So first up, let's do a SOP create, jump in, go in an object merge, go out, find our curtain. I think, yeah, the solar was the last one on there. We've got that. So here's our SOP create. Then we're going to add an environment light. And under texture, I've just got an HDR that I'm going to use. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is going to want to create some materials on this thing. So to do that, let's create a material library. Jump in here, and I'm going to grab from our material palette, I'm going to grab some paint here. Metal paint. Let's try that. And we'll set the base color to just like a middle gray. And I think that's all we need to do here. We can pull the roughness down, and we'll just drag this onto our object and set material on component. And that'll drop down here. And that just made two nodes. So we get that the material library and the assignment itself. Next up, let's drop down a camera. And let's go down to our light, camera. Turn that off. I'm going to hit D for display, go to background, and disable environment lights in the background. Now we get this. So let's go ahead, and one last note we want to drop down is the camera settings here, and then a USD render up. So we'll just go back up the chain here. For the render up, everything should just set at default. Shouldn't have to change anything in here. You can render to mplay and then save from there, or you can just render to disk. Either works. And this is just going to save in your wherever your file is saved, which I should probably do. Just call this hero. And let's go ahead and turn our Karma viewport on. Now we're going to get something like this, which is nice. Overall, we're not getting enough from this light. Let's bump the exposure up here a bit. Something along those lines. And I'm kind of just looking for like a cool abstract shape here. So one thing I can definitely tell is that our cloth is too low res. So let's just jump back up to object level, and let's drop down a Vellum post process. And we'll subdivide it using a loop. And we'll just take it up to like 2. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, this is looking cool down in here. Let's go look at our camera. Oh, I guess I can't access that camera. That's weird. This looks better though. So let's detangle it with some passes and then extrude by thickness. So we're not getting just one-sided geometry. And the thickness, let's set to like 0.01. I think that should work. Maybe go. Wire divisions, that's not important. There we go. Now we're getting a cool look. Now I'm just going to try to find a cool angle here. I guess I should do this over in the stage. So let's head back over to the stage. And grab the camera. Oops. So this catches me all the time. You hit this lock, and then it'll stay with the camera viewport. That's why it just kind of skipped around there. Abstract angle shape here. Looks kind of cool. Also, let's go ahead and jump into our karma settings. We still need a better angle. It doesn't look like it's updating. Let's go back to, that's why. So when I set that Vellum solver up, that was the last node. So let's just do this for best practices. Let's go back up to our object level. Go in here, and let's call this out sim. And we're gonna go back and grab out sim in the stage. There we go. So I'm just gonna just take a look around this, see what I can get as a cool look. Another thing I'm gonna do is change our view here. So let's change the focal length down to like 20 so we get a real wide angle lens. There we go. So just let that resolve. And then last step is going into our render settings here, and let's go to filters, set our optics denoiser up. Let's go to rendering, minimum secondary samples. Let's just crank that up. Light quality, all this stuff is fine. Limits, let's take our diffuse up to 8 and our reflection up to 16. And all the rest of the stuff should be fine. And that should be it. Now let's just switch over to the XPU engine so that the denoiser can do its thing. I think we may have frozen here. So when this happens, I just go up to Labs, reset viewport, and then go find my camera, go grab Karma, and our path trace samples here. Let's go ahead and, oh, man, I do that so many times. There we go. our path trace samples, we can bump this up to 256, which will give us a better image. And I think that's it. Um, Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you learned something. This is just a quick overview on how to do a nice kind of MoGraph style abstract image using Vellum. Thanks.